Make Christmas 2025 unforgettable. Explore the holiday magic of Europe with the Travel Bug Girls as we tour Christmas markets across Germany, Switzerland, and France. It's the ultimate Christmas shopping experience happening November 29th through December 7th. So grab your girlfriends and visit travelbuggirls.com to learn more and sign up today. Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast. I'm Kimmy, and I'm here with Tina and Cassie. So today we're going to talk about something that's a little bit more personal, and it's about the transformative power of travel. So how our travel changes us, how it affects us, and how we felt like we've changed because of our travel. So it's not just about, seeing the world, although those things are cool, but it also, like anytime we travel, we bring something kind of home with us. So we're kind of go through how it changes us emotionally, culturally, personally. Well, I think it's going to be a fun conversation, and I'm excited to hear about how travel has changed you guys. So let's get started. So I guess the first thing that we want to talk about is how travel changes us, like emotionally, psychologically. And I know one of the ways that we've kind of talked about in past episodes is it kind of forces you to become more adaptable and resilient because unexpected things happen when you travel. So have you guys had any experiences like that, or you feel like maybe travel has helped you become more adaptable as you've traveled?
I think in general, like you said, it is something you're taking yourself out of your regular place. And so you know that there's going to be something different that's going to happen. The first time you may run into a problem, like I know I got stuck at the Dallas airport and had to sleep there. And I mean, we tried to make the best of it, but at the same time, it's like, oh, this is really a challenge. And so, once you get to the other end that you made it. And so, that if something happens next time, you know that you'll be able to get through it. Okay. I mean, that was a kind of a lesser, experience, but, just different things like that you just know that you're going to come out okay on the other end. And when you do that often enough, then when you get back to your regular life, you're like, oh, this is a problem. It's okay. I can keep going.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Cassie?
Absolutely. We went to Washington, D.C. last year for the first time. And as everybody that knows us knows, we're country people. We live out in the country. We drive everywhere. Everywhere we measure in hours away. How many hours away is that from us? So we had to learn, at the time, the baby was in a car seat. So we had to kind of think about transportation a little more in depth than we generally would have. So I joined some groups on Facebook, and I was reading and learning a bunch of things. So we decided we were going to take the circulator bus. And we had to download an app because you have to have, a way to pay. You have to learn what route that you're going to be on. I think in Washington, D.C., they're like blue, yellow, and red, I think. And each bus takes you to different places. And my husband was so stressed out about this. Like, I cannot convey to you the level of stress this man had about public transportation. But we did it. And he kept thinking, we were going to get on the wrong bus. We walked all over the place looking for a specific bus stop, and there was like two bus stops like right across from each other. And I just asked when the bus pulled up, I was like, hey, is this going to the Air and Space Museum? And he was like, no, you want to be over there at that bus stop, that next bus. And so we walked across the road. So I do think now that we've done that and it's successful, we also coming back got on a bus to come back to our hotel, and we got on the wrong bus. But the end of the bus took us all the way to the end of the line, and we could see the road. We were like a block away from where we were. So we were able to walk. So I got to show my husband, like, look, this isn't the end of the world. Like, we can see where we have to go. We can walk there, no big deal. So now that we know how that operates, I feel like it's opened more possibilities for travel to utilize different, forms of transportation. My sons loved it. I have boys, and buses, planes, trains, anything that's transportation, they like. My oldest son, the riding the bus was like the highlight of the trip for him. So I really do think it does teach resiliency, and it is, it helps you develop confidence in your ability to lead and to, be able to do things and figure stuff out.
And facing your fears.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know when I went to Costa Rica, the resort we were staying at was pretty remote. And so we flew into San Jose, and then we had to fly on an itty bitty little plane. It held 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had, cover our ears and the whole thing. And I just kept looking at the weather going, okay, we're going to be flying over the ocean. And it was either a 45-minute flight, which we decided or we could have taken a 4-hour bus ride over mountains. And I'm sure it would have been beautiful, but the time just didn't make sense for us. And so we decided to take the flight, and I was really, really scared, but I did it, and it was beautiful.
Sometimes the experiences that you're like most nervous about end up being the ones that are like the most rewarding, going through them. So that's great. I know another kind of way that travel affects us, and this is probably the one that I think about most, is kind of opens your mind and breaks down stereotypes. Do y'all have any experiences like that where you just really felt like it kind of opened your mind up to the rest of the world, really?
I think in general, you notice that we're all looking for the same things. We're all looking to find joy in life. We are all looking to support our families. We're all trying to be there for our friends and our family. So find the similarities where you think there's going to be differences. It may be in a different language, but there's a language that we all speak, and that comes across a lot of times when you are in another country or another city.
I think going from two extremes kind of is a good measurement. We vacation in Tennessee a lot. That's a place that we go to frequently, and a place that we go to is called Cades Cove, and it's very, it's a park, it's beautiful, and there's always specific groups of people that get really, really close to the wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have these cameras that look like they cost more than my house. We all run into these people. My children are always like, why are they so enamored by that deer? Like, we see deer every day. So we go to Cincinnati a lot as well, and it's a city. And so we were talking about recently, we saw some kids and a mom going into one of these buildings in town. And I told my son, I said, those people, they don't get to see trees and deer and bear and coyote and things like we see every day. We take those things for granted. And so they find a lot of beauty in that. We'll even see people in Tennessee like taking pictures of the leaves and the trees. And, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yums. If that's your jam, that's your jam. I always look at things for my kids because, I'm a family travel expert. Like, I'm always trying to, help them put things together. It kind of helps them, be able to see from more than one viewpoint, that I see things this way, but this may be why they see things a different way than I do.
Yeah, I agree. I think this, like you said, different perspectives, seeing things from different perspectives.
Went to New York City for the first time, or really any time. There was this perception. I grew up in a small town in Wyoming. So when I went to New York City, I think I had in my mind a little bit, people are unfriendly, they're mean, and it's dangerous to walk the streets and these kind of things. And when I went to stay there, well, first of all, I was staying that time with a friend. And so, of course, there's friendly people because there's my friend. But as I walked, she lived right in Manhattan, and we would walk everywhere. And, people just walk and friendly when you go into places. I was like, you learn that the stereotypes aren't true because you're experiencing it firsthand. So it gives you a chance to make up your own mind about what you've been hearing. When I went to Mexico, it was kind of the same thing. I mean, I hadn't really heard anything negative about Mexican people, but I was like, well, everybody here is cool. This is great. And again, in New York, as far as the safety issue, I felt more safe there than I do a lot of other places because there are so many. So, and maybe that's a little bit my naivete, but I did feel safe there, to walk.
The Travel Bug Girls have partnered with A Little Nitty, a local yarn shop in Milton, Washington, to create some incredible trips that you are going to love. Each trip is designed to check all the boxes for yarn and fiber lovers who want to take their crafting on the road or the high seas. So grab your favorite yarn and get ready to pack your bags. We have Nitty Adventures coming in May, August, and October of 2025. To find out more, visit travelbuggirls.com/nitty-adventures.
Around and everything like that.
I think that leads in really well to our next point, which would be it can change our cultural and social perspectives. So kind of how we see the world. We've talked about this some in past podcasts, how travel helps us see how we're all interconnected. And like you said, our similarities instead of our differences. And I think it's so easy when we stay in one place to get kind of in our little bubble, and get used to the people that we see every day in our surroundings and get really comfortable. And it's also easy to sort of make a us and them idea, like, well, I'm here in my little happy space, my little community, and all those other people out there, I don't know about them. And so I think travel really helps us to kind of broaden our perspective on that. And like you said, to just see that like people are just people, everywhere you go, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're going to work, we're buying groceries, we're taking care of our kids, all of that. So have you had an experience where you felt like kind of broadened your perception of the world, or maybe a specific time where you were able to learn about a different culture that really kind of impacted you?
We went to the Bahamas on our honeymoon, and like I said, up until me and my husband got together and got married, I had never been anywhere ever. We just didn't travel, and I hadn't been exposed to a whole lot. I did go to college, and that kind of stuff. But as far as a different culture, we agreed to sit in a timeshare presentation with this very nice Bahamian lady. It was very Bahamas, and while we were on our honeymoon, it rained like 3 days out of the 7 days that we were there, and apparently that's not something that happens normally. And we were just chatting about where we were from and stuff, and she said, "Oh honey, it never rains in the Bahamas, it's just liquid sunshine." And we still laugh about that. We also were my husband is very spoiled on renting cars. Like, he has to have his own way to get around. So when we went there, we saw these people just zipping around on scooters, and my husband said, "Hey, let's rent a scooter the next day." So we took a taxi and we drove around town, and all the cars are beat to death, and their traffic laws are a little something beyond what we're used to. So the next day when he said, "You know what? I don't think we can rent a scooter. I don't think I can drive here the way they drive." So we walked and we taxied, but it was very nice. When you get away from the resorts and things, it's a very poor area. You see how tourism really, really impacts that area in the world. But everybody was kind. I feel like travel, it's been my experience. There is places that we tend to not go because they're rude. New York is a place that, like, my husband's like, no, I have no desire to go there because they're rude. But I also have people tell me that about Disney, that the cast members are rude, and I will say the customer service is why we continue to go back. Have we ran into people that have been rude? Yes. Is that the norm? No. And I feel like that's the same with everywhere. We kind of have a bingo card, like, okay, has somebody made fun of our accents? That's B1, check that off. Has somebody asked us where we were from and then done some sort of racial stereotype, cultural stereotype? Yep, check that one off too. So it's just kind of like a fun thing we laugh about. But I feel like if you look for negative people, you'll find negative people. If you look for positive people, you'll find positive people. So
that's so true. Yeah, I agree.
it's maybe more of a conglomeration of a couple of experiences, but I feel like it has shifted. Traveling has shifted a few of my perceptions, but one of them is I have a greater appreciation for small family-owned businesses. I have a greater appreciation for like small town living, and that actually came from traveling, like being in Europe in particular, and the difference between going to large venues, chain restaurants, chain hotels, that I was used to growing up in America. Like we actually sought out the bigger companies to spend more time when we were traveling. We would look for like the things that are comfortable, the things you're used to seeing, right? And then being in Europe, I had so many really great experiences with restaurants that were owned by a family that sat down with us. Oh, you're new, you're visiting? Have you tried this? Have you gone there? You know, and well, wait, let me make you something special, you know? And like, there was this moment we were in, my husband and daughter and I were visiting one of my favorite places in Italy, San Gimignano. It's a very small fortified city in the Tuscany region. It's actually in Chianti. And we stayed in a little inn in the city. I was so excited to get to spend some extra time there, because usually we're only there for like an hour or two to walk around. And instead we spent 2 days and stayed in the village, and we went to dinner one night at this restaurant that has these big picture windows that overlook the Tuscan hills. And I was so excited to go. And we went on a night that wasn't very crowded, and we took our time. We just sat and enjoyed the sunset and enjoyed our dinner, and we had course after course. And pretty soon the owner came over and sat with us and started talking with us. And then he brought out like his favorite, right? Like it's the end of the night. And so he brings out like his favorite bottle of wine and his favorite, you know, and we're talking, and we closed down that restaurant with him. And it was such a special experience that I think it solidified for me a couple of things. One is that, okay, no, officially San Gimignano may be my favorite place ever. And I love going there. And a lot of tourists don't ever see it because it's not on a train line. It's off the beaten path, you know, but every single place in that village is small family-owned business, basically. And these are people that live there, and they know where their food comes from, and they know who made the things they're using. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I've learned here now, not only to look for those opportunities when I'm traveling, but here at home, I spend more time working with small businesses. We're more likely to go to a small family-owned restaurant. I am so excited when I'm able to buy a product and be like, Amy made this candle for me that I bought at the farmer's market. You know, when I can say, I know the person who made this, I don't know, it just hits different. I'm so proud of those moments now. And I look for those opportunities even here at home. It makes life in general more exciting and more fun, I think. And so that's something though that I learned through my experiences in travel, that it's changed the way we interact with our own hometown.
All around the world, people are doing the same thing. So when you are connecting with those smaller companies in the smaller places, you're really getting that personal connection. You're not just
Gotcha.
you're not just a tourist, and they're not just a location. You're people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That personal connection is what I think I have gained overall more than anything from travel. Learning to see the people behind things.
Yeah.
You know, learning that our food comes from farmers, right? That our clothes are made by someone somewhere, you know, whether it's in a factory or handmade. There are real people behind those things. It's a really special thing. I feel like it's kind of a shame I had to go to another country to learn that lesson, but I'm so grateful that I get to bring it home. And I don't know, it's been something that's really carried with me. Yeah.
I think too, when I travel, I get like, I have an art background and I get so busy that I just don't, rarely do I draw or paint or anything now. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I'm out of my routine or just feel more relaxed, but I always feel like more creative when I travel. And maybe it's also because a lot of times I'm going to art museums or I'm going to places that are more creative just in general. But I always feel like just get your creativity flowing and, thinking outside the norm. Yeah.
I love that, Kim. Yeah. I think another thing that I've noticed in myself, and now I almost feel like I can just, like, if I had to pick one thing to preach about travel, this would be the thing. And that is that I have learned to relax when I travel. I would love to be able to apply more of that in my daily life, but let me tell you how traveling with me is so different now, because to me, the trip starts the moment you leave your house. So I'm, constantly I'm traveling with people that maybe for the first time, and I'm noticing they're so stressed. They're so anxious. They're so like, hurry, 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 hurry. We got to hurry, 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 hurry. For example, you go to an airport with someone and you're going to get on a plane later that day. It is stress, 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 rush, rush, rush. Oh, traffic's awful. Like, you're complaining before you even get to the airport, and you're stressed for reasons. Why? Because we left 4 hours early. Why are we stressed? Why are we angry already? And you're complaining about the line, and you're complaining about having to wait, and you already knew that was going to happen. Like, that happened every time ever that you have been here. So why are we surprised every time? And then we hurry, 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 rush, 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 push, 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 push. Oh, these people are taking so long. We're complaining. And then we get to the gate. Okay, we made it to the gate. Yep, there's the gate. 3 hours from now, our plane is leaving. I'm like, why? And now I'm doubting, like, are we really friends? Do I need to be friends with you? Are we related? Do I have to stay with you? Like, I'm doubting myself and my relationship to you now, because what is the point of this? Is this how we're going to be? Because the reality is, most people, that is not how their whole trip will be, right? There are people like that. We know people like that. But most people, this is an accepted practice in America that we are going to act this way until we arrive at our destination. And then 90% of us will be then chill-ish for the rest of the week or however long we're traveling. And then we get to be this again the day we're getting back on a plane, right? This is like an accepted thing. And why? That's my question, is why? And there was literally a moment when I gave it up, when I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I am done being grumpy and irritated and frustrated just because everyone around me is. That's nonsense. And so now when I leave my house, put on the party music. We are driving with party music. The party has begun. I don't care where we're going or what we're doing. If we're leaving our house, the party has started. And I set aside extra money in the travel budget for the day we are in the airport. And I will go find the nicest place where everybody's wearing a suit and sit there and order a drink or a dessert or whatever. And I'm definitely going to pressure whoever's with me to do the same. And we'll go shopping. If we have 4 hours, if you insisted on being there stupid early, I will go with you, because now I know how to have fun in an airport. And do you know that a lot of the airports have a spa or a beauty salon? They have nice restaurants. We can go shopping. Like, I'm not going to sit around and complain for 3 hours at the gate. These chairs are uncomfortable and I'm thirsty and everything's expensive here. No, we're going to go have fun, because we are now on vacation. I'm not wasting a whole day being grumpy of my vacation. So that has been something that has changed. And now I tend to act that way, even if we're just going on a road trip to visit my in-laws. Like, a road trip is a road trip. That's vacation. That's a vacation day. If I'm not working and I'm in my car, we're going to stop somewhere cool and we're going to play happy music, and we're not complaining about traffic. We're going to have a good time. So,
and we're eating food that we don't eat at home. I think we decided you have to eat food
yes,
for it to qualify as a road trip. I love that you brought that up about like making the actual physical traveling part of the experience, and that like that was one thing I loved about our business to business partner that we interviewed and our Nitty Adventures, because that's a big part of what she does is actually make the travel part of the fun. That's
I love it.
part of the adventure, you know. So yeah, I like
I
that.
really resonate with that. I think she's onto something there. You know, building in part of the trip is being together.
I 100% agree. My mom is very much a vacation doesn't begin until we get to the destination part. And I have preached to my entire family my whole life. Travel is the journey, not the destination.
Right.
Let's enjoy all of our time together in the car, you know, from the time, like you said, till we get in the car to go somewhere. So I 100% agree that travel is the journey, not the destination.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. I love it. It will change everything. If it's something, if anyone is listening to this and you do not practice that, I
Give it a
challenge
try.
you to give it a try. Plan ahead for it. Plan ahead for it. You know, like when we had little kids, and Pinterest was huge, and I'd go on Pinterest and be like, road trip games for kids or road trip snacks for kids or whatever, and find all these cool tips and try them out. And you know, now we have grown people, but now I'm still like, we love traveling together and we make it fun from the minute you start, and there's no reason to be grumpy all day. What a waste of your vacation time.
Like when you start out negative, the negative just piles continuously. Like when you're complaining before you even get started, it's not going to get much better for you that day. You know what I mean?
True.
One thing I was thinking about too is like, I think it's so good to go somewhere where you are the outsider, you know? That really changes your perspective, you know, especially living in the United States. Like, we speak English, we expect everyone else to speak English wherever we go. And we kind of have this like idea that a self-centered, egocentric idea, like everything in the world revolves around America. Let's be honest. And I just think like it's so good to go somewhere where you are out of your comfort zone and you're not comfortable and you don't speak the language, because then when you see people that are uncomfortable here, don't speak the language, it just gives you a different perspective on that situation. So I think you know, I don't know if you'd call that a cultural or social perspective.
It can change.
It really does.
Yeah. Sometimes learning from that experience of being the odd one out is really valuable. When we lived in France, we were immigrants. My family were immigrants. And we had to go through the processes that people in any country have to go through to be an immigrant, to be allowed legally to live in a foreign country. And so we had to go through a lot of red tape. We had to stand in lines in government offices and submit paperwork and documents and show ourselves physically and try to speak in their language. You know, we had to do all of the things that any country, every country has some process like that. And it's uncomfortable in every country, and it can be scary because you're at their mercy and they are judging you. It's their job, you know, to keep their people safe and make sure you're following laws and things like that. So it can be nerve-wracking, I assume, in every country. And our children sitting through that were teenagers when we went through that process in France. And we were treated very well, but we would sit next to people who were not, because they were from different countries that were, you know, not preferred. Let's just say it that way, in that culture. And in our culture, we have countries that are probably not preferred, right? Every country, I'm guessing, does. And so we were preferred and treated very well. And I don't think I had seen it up close like that. And I know my children had not until we were in those situations. And it happened both in government places, but also at the airport. One time standing in line, and because we are not European Union citizens, we are American citizens with our American passport. The lines are EU and everybody else. Those are the two lines. So we're everybody else because we're not EU. And one day we were in an airport and we were standing in a very long line. I want you to picture a room full of probably hundreds of people in line, and the EU line is empty. So we're standing among everyone else. Okay, we are in a line of people that are not from Europe. And let me say that we stood out. We didn't look physically like the people we were standing among. And our little family is standing there in the middle of the line, holding our passports. And the people at the front, the officials, start yelling in French, and they're like waving, like, come on, you, like over the crowd, you, come on. And we're like, who, us? And we're finally, my husband holds up our passport and waves it, and they all just rolled their eyes like, oh, we're so obnoxious. They were sure, because of the way we looked, that
you were in the wrong line.
And just dumb, I guess, standing in the wrong line. And we're like, no, we don't. And then they made us come to the front, past all those people that had been standing for much longer than we had. So my family's paraded past all these people, and we know that's not right. And we know that, we're like, don't want to go with them, but they're insisting, like, here comes the policeman guy in his uniform, like, gonna forcibly drag us forward. And so we gather our kids and we go to the front, and afterwards our son was like, did that feel wrong? I said, yes, that felt wrong. That was wrong. There was no reason to treat us that way and make us come first and let all those people wait, except for how we looked, because we are foreigners just like all of those people.
Right.
And those officers just standing looking at the crowd don't know any more about us than they did any of those other people there, right? Except for the color of our skin and the way we were dressed was different. And so that was such an up close and personal view of what those processes look like in many places, including our own country here. So now we all in our family have a very different perspective when people start talking about immigration and racism and things like that. We have a very different take than even, honestly, our own family members and neighbors and friends have, who've never moved anywhere, gone anywhere different than them, than where they are. And not judging them for that, but we've had different life experiences, and it colors how we look at the world now and how it looks, how our politics play out in front of us. And, I'm much more likely to intervene now, and I have in other places awkwardly, when something unfair is happening to immigrants in front of me in our country. I am much more likely to speak up and defend them and interpret and that kind of thing, because I have been the foreigner and I have seen with my own eyes what that looks like and how uncomfortable it is. And I've also been the one whose children are interpreting for her in official situations like at school and at banks. That is awkward, but let me tell you how that's a normal, real thing for someone who's trying very hard to assimilate in a new country. And we should not be so quick to judge people in those situations. They're probably trying really hard, but their kids pick it up faster. That's a scientific fact, that our children will pick up a language faster. Anyway, that was a very long story about how our experience changes us being in another country. And another thing that happens is watching Americans act badly in a foreign country will change the way you act and how you see things. And then it will help you understand why sometimes people are like, ooh, Americans are rude. Sometimes we are rude. And sometimes it's a cultural difference that is perceived as rudeness. And sometimes now I know that when people say, ooh, French people are so rude, well, maybe there are rude people in every culture, but maybe you didn't understand what was happening around you and you perceived that as rudeness when it was a normal situation for them, and you were the person acting strange and you just had no idea that what you were doing was
the weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those things happen. And so I think that's why it's important for us to do our best best to be patient with people and also to maybe read up on a culture before you go, and like expectations, like social norms and social expectations in particular are really helpful before you go visit another country.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to do a podcast on that in the future as far as like how to maximize your experience, when you travel. But I think overall, like travel just opens up your world in a variety of different ways that hopefully will affect you when you come back home. Like that you will, whatever you see and experience, that you will bring that home with you and let it color your everyday life and let it affect the lens through which you see the world at home too. So
Yeah,
I think travel is good for us.
definitely.
I do want to finish up with our question that we have at the end of every episode, and that is, where is your mind today? So where are we traveling today? Where are you guys right now?
I've been thinking a lot about what makes a romantic vacation. Part of the struggle with that is getting a romantic couple to see the same thing. So I've been thinking a lot about resorts versus remote villas. So mostly in the Caribbean and Hawaii and places like that.
I love that.
Cassie is thinking about Cleveland, Ohio. Heather?
I have been thinking about Baden-Baden. It's in Germany, and I saw a video the other day on social media, and now I'm obsessed with it.
Okay. You've been talking a lot about France today, so that's what I've been thinking about is France. So with that, we will wrap up this episode.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get our new episodes every week. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Share your answer to this week's podcast question with us at facebook.com/travelbuggirls. You can find us on your favorite social media by using @travelbuggirls. Want to join our VIP group? You'll find us on Facebook groups under TBG Travel Bugs. Learn more about the Travel Bug Girls and what we do on our website at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels.